I will never forget the sound of those heels on my hardwood floor. It was a Sunday evening. Dorothy had spent all afternoon cooking her famous pot roast. The smell filled our little house like a warm hug. The table was set with our good plates, the ones we only use for special occasions. This was supposed to be a special occasion. Our son Gregory was coming for dinner. It had been weeks since we last saw him. Dorothy was humming in the kitchen. She always hums when she's happy. I sat in my chair by the window and watched her move around. 52 years of marriage and she still made my heart feel full. I adjusted my suit jacket. I always wear a suit to family dinners. Dorothy says I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I am. But some things deserve respect. Family dinner is one of them. The doorbell rang at 6 o'clock sharp. Dorothy wiped her hands on her apron and rushed to answer it. I heard her voice first, surprised, then confused. Then something else, something that made my stomach tighten. I stood up slowly. My knees aren't what they used to be. I walked toward the front door and saw her, Vanessa, my daughter-in-law. She pushed past Dorothy without a greeting, without a smile, without even looking at her. Gregory followed behind. His eyes were on the floor. He couldn't look at us. That's when I knew something was wrong. Vanessa marched into our dining room like she owned the place. Her designer bag swung from her arm. Her blonde hair was pulled back tight. Her face was hard as stone. She stood at the head of the table. My table. The table where I taught Gregory to play chess. The table where Dorothy served 25 Thanksgiving dinners. The table where we celebrated every birthday and every milestone. Vanessa slammed something down on that table. The sound made Dorothy jump. I walked closer and saw what it was. A piece of paper. A bill. I could see the numbers from where I stood. $8,000. This, Vanessa said, her voice like ice, is the bill for your husband's medication last month. I said nothing. I just looked at her. Do you have any idea how much you're costing us? She continued. Her voice grew louder. Every month it's something new. Pills, doctor visits, tests. Do you think money grows on trees? Dorothy stepped forward. Her hands were shaking. Vanessa, we never asked. Don't. Vanessa cut her off. Don't you dare. You've been bleeding Gregory dry for years. Both of you, sitting in this old house, driving that old car, expecting us to pay for everything. I looked at my son. He stood by the doorway. His hands were in his pockets. His jaw was tight. But he said nothing. He just stood there like a statue. It's over, Vanessa announced. She pointed her finger at me. Either you pay this bill yourselves or you're both going to a nursing home. I'm done. We're done. Gregory is done. The room went silent. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. I could hear Dorothy's breath catching in her throat. I could hear my own heart beating slow and steady. I looked at Vanessa for a long moment. Then I looked at Gregory, my son, the boy I taught to ride a bike, the boy I walked to school every morning, the boy I worked double shifts for so he could go to medical school. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. Something broke inside me. Not my heart. That had been cracking for a while now. No, something else. A dam I had built years ago. A wall I had put up to protect my family. I rose slowly from my chair. My bones ached, but I stood straight. I adjusted my suit jacket. I always do that when I need to be strong. Then I reached into my inside pocket. I felt the envelope there, the one I had been carrying for 20 years. I never thought I would need to use it. I hoped I never would. I pulled it out. It was old and worn. The edges were soft from years of waiting. I slid it across the table toward Gregory. Open it, I said. My voice was calm, quiet, but it filled the room. Gregory finally looked up. His face was pale, confused. Vanessa moved fast. She snatched the envelope before Gregory could reach it. What is this? She demanded. What game are you playing? I didn't answer. I just watched. She ripped the envelope open. She pulled out the document inside. I saw her eyes move across the page. I saw the colour drain from her face. I saw her hands begin to shake, and I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. 6 months earlier, I sat in Dr. Patterson's office and listened to words that changed everything. "Walter, your heart is getting weaker," he said. He leaned forward in his chair. His face was serious. "You need medication. Without it, we're looking at serious complications." I nodded slowly. I had felt it for months. The shortness of breath, the heaviness in my chest, the way I had to stop halfway up the stairs. Dorothy noticed too. She pretended not to, but I saw the worry in her eyes every morning. "What kind of medication?" I asked. Dr. Patterson wrote something on his pad. "There's a new drug that's very effective. But Walter, I have to be honest with you. It's expensive." I took the prescription from him. I looked at the name. I didn't recognize it, but I recognized the look on his face, the look that said this was going to hurt. The pharmacy confirmed it. $800 a month. With our insurance, it came down to $500. $500 we didn't have. I drove home in silence. Dorothy was waiting at the door. She always knows when something is wrong. I told her everything. I watched her face fall. Then I watched her straighten up. She squeezed my hand. "We'll figure it out," she said. "We always do." That night, Dorothy called Gregory. I listened from my chair. She told him about the diagnosis, about the medication, about the cost. Her voice was calm. She wasn't asking for anything. She was just telling our son that his father was sick. Gregory said all the right things. He said he was sorry. He said he would help. He said not to worry about money. He said he would send a check that week. The check never came. Dorothy called again the following week. Gregory was in surgery. She left a message. He didn't call back. She called again 3 days later. He was at a conference in Chicago. His assistant said he would return the call. He didn't. I told Dorothy to stop calling. She refused. "He's our son," she said. "He's just busy. He'll come through." But I saw the truth. I saw it in the way Gregory's calls became shorter, the way his visits became less frequent, the way he always had somewhere else to be. Something had changed in my son. Something had gotten hold of him. And I knew exactly what it was. Vanessa. I remember when Gregory first brought her home. It was 15 years ago. She smiled at all the right moments. She complimented Dorothy's cooking. She laughed at my jokes, but her eyes were cold, calculating. She looked around our little house like she was measuring it, like she was adding up what it was worth. I tried to warn Gregory. I told him to be careful. He got angry with me. He said I didn't understand. He said I was being unfair. He said Vanessa came from a good family, a wealthy family. He said she was used to nice things. That was the problem. Vanessa was used to nice things, and she believed she deserved them, all of them. She came from old money. Her father owned half the commercial real estate in the county. She never worked a day in her life. She didn't know what it meant to sacrifice, to struggle, to build something with your own 2 hands. Dorothy and I knew. We knew what sacrifice meant. When Gregory got accepted to medical school, we celebrated with cake and tears. Then we looked at the tuition bill and felt our hearts stop. $40,000 a year. We didn't have it. We didn't have anything close to it. So we made a plan. I took out a second mortgage on the house. Dorothy picked up extra shifts at the school. She taught summer classes. She tutored on weekends. I turned down a job at a big private firm. They offered me 3 times my salary, but they wanted me to defend corporations, companies that hurt people. I couldn't do it. So I stayed at legal aid. I helped people who couldn't afford lawyers. I believed in justice more than money. We gave everything to Gregory, every dollar we had, every dollar we could borrow. We never complained. We never asked for anything back. We just wanted him to succeed. We wanted him to be happy. And he was happy. For a while. I remember teaching him to tie a tie before his first date. His hands were shaking. He was so nervous. I put my hands on his shoulders and looked him in the eye. Gregory, I said, a man is measured not by what he takes, but by what he gives. He nodded. He smiled. He hugged me. That boy is still inside him somewhere. I have to believe that. But 6 months ago, that boy was buried deep. And when Gregory finally came to visit us, he wasn't alone. Vanessa was waiting in the car. I saw her through the window. I saw her watching. I saw her lips moving as Gregory walked toward our front door. She had given him his instructions, and my son was about to break his mother's heart. Gregory sat on our couch with his hands clasped together. He looked like a little boy about to confess he broke a window. But he wasn't a little boy anymore. He was a 48-year-old man, a surgeon, a father, and he couldn't look me in the eye. Dorothy brought out coffee. She set it on the table with trembling hands. She sat down next to me, close. I could feel her shaking. She knew something bad was coming. We both did. Gregory cleared his throat. He still didn't look up. Mum, Dad. His voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk about your situation. Your situation, like we were strangers, like we were a problem to be solved. I said nothing. I just waited. The medical bills are adding up, Gregory continued. And Vanessa and I have been talking. We think it might be time to consider some changes. Dorothy leaned forward. What kind of changes? Gregory finally looked at her, but only for a second. You need to be more independent, more self-sufficient. Maybe look into downsizing, moving to a smaller place, something more manageable. I felt Dorothy stiffen beside me. I reached over and took her hand. We also think, Gregory said slowly, that you should consider assisted living. There are some nice facilities in the area. They have doctors on staff, activities, other people your age, like we were ready to be put out to pasture, like we were done living. I squeezed Dorothy's hand tighter. Gregory kept talking. He talked about finances, about practicality, about the burden we were placing on him and Vanessa. He used words like reasonable and realistic and responsible, words that meant nothing, words that hid what he was really saying. Then he crossed the line. And the house, he said. He gestured around him. At the walls I had painted myself. At the floors I had sanded with my own hands. At the curtains Dorothy had sewn when we first moved in. You should think about selling it. The money could cover your expenses. It would take the pressure off everyone. The pressure off everyone. I looked at my son. I looked at his expensive watch, his tailored shirt, his Italian leather shoes. And I thought about the second mortgage we took out so he could go to medical school. I thought about the nights Dorothy worked late so we could pay his tuition. I thought about the job I turned down so I could live with myself. We built this house with our sacrifice, and now our son wanted to sell it. Dorothy spoke first. Her voice was quiet, but there was steel in it. Gregory, she said, do you remember this house? He blinked. What do you mean? I mean, do you remember it? She looked around the room. Do you remember learning to walk in this living room? Do you remember the birthday parties we had in the backyard? Do you remember the Christmas mornings? Gregory shifted uncomfortably. Mom, that's not... Do you remember the oak tree? Dorothy interrupted. Her voice cracked. The one in the backyard. The one your father planted the day you were born. Gregory's face changed. Something flickered in his eyes. Something old. Something buried. Do you remember what he said that day? Dorothy asked. When he put that little tree in the ground? Gregory didn't answer. He looked away. Dorothy waited. The silence stretched out. It filled the room like water. It pressed against the walls. I couldn't take it anymore. I spoke. Gregory. My voice was calm. I kept it steady. When did you become a man who lets someone else speak for him? His head snapped toward me. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. I held his gaze. I didn't blink. I didn't look away. I wanted him to see me, really see me, not as a burden, not as a problem, but as his father, the man who raised him, the man who taught him right from wrong. He couldn't hold it. He looked down at his hands. I should go, he mumbled. He stood up quickly. He didn't hug Dorothy. He didn't shake my hand. He just walked to the door and left. I heard his car start. I heard it pull away. Then silence. Dorothy put her face in her hands and cried. I held her. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. But something happened that night. Something shifted. Gregory went home to Vanessa. He sat in his office alone. He started looking at things he had never looked at before. Bank statements, credit card bills, account transfers he didn't recognize. He found a folder on Vanessa's computer. It was hidden, password protected. But Gregory knew his wife. He knew her passwords. He knew her secrets. He opened the folder, and what he found inside made his blood run cold. The envelope sat on the table between us. Vanessa held the document in her shaking hands. Her face was white as a sheet. I watched her eyes move across the page again and again, like she couldn't believe what she was reading. "What is this?" she whispered. But she knew. She knew exactly what it was. "It's a trust," I said calmly. "I set it up 20 years ago." Gregory stepped forward. He looked confused, lost. "Dad, what are you talking about? What trust?" I looked at my son. I had kept this secret for 2 decades. I never wanted to use it. I hoped I would never have to. But Vanessa had forced my hand. "When Amelia was born," I began, "I made a decision. I took every dollar I had saved over my career, every bonus, every settlement fee, every penny I didn't spend on myself, and I put it in a trust for her, for any grandchildren who came after her." Gregory's mouth fell open. "How much?" $2 million. The room went silent. Dorothy looked at me with tears in her eyes. She knew about the trust. She was the only one who did. We had agreed to keep it secret, to protect it, to make sure it went where it was supposed to go. Vanessa found her voice. It came out like a hiss. $2 million, and you never told us. "It wasn't for you to know," I said. "It's not your money. It's not Gregory's money. It belongs to Amelia. It's irrevocable. It can't be touched. It can't be borrowed against. It can't be redirected." Vanessa threw the document on the table. Her hands were balled into fists. "You had $2 million sitting in a trust while we paid your medical bills? While we supported you?" I almost laughed. Almost. But there was nothing funny about this. "Supported us?" I repeated. "You haven't supported us. Gregory promised to help with my medications 6 months ago. The checks never came. The calls never came. You abandoned us. Both of you." Vanessa opened her mouth to argue, but Gregory spoke first. "She's right, Dad." We all turned to look at him. He was standing by the window. His face was pale, his hands were trembling. But there was something different in his eyes. Something I hadn't seen in years. Clarity. "Vanessa is right," he said again. "We should have been told about the trust." Vanessa smiled. A cold, triumphant smile. "Thank you, Gregory. Finally you're—" But that's not all that should have been told. The smile froze on her face. Gregory reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a folded stack of papers. He walked to the table and laid them down next to the trust document. "I found these on your computer," he said to Vanessa. His voice was steady now, controlled. "Hidden in a folder called Household Expenses, very clever." Vanessa's eyes went wide. "You went through my computer?" "I went through everything." Gregory looked at her. "Bank statements, transfer records, account histories. It's all here." I leaned forward and looked at the papers. I saw numbers, dates, account names. I saw transfers from their joint account to another account, an account in Vanessa's name only. Thousands of dollars, month after month, year after year. "You've been stealing from us," Gregory said. His voice cracked. "From our family, from our children's future." Vanessa's face twisted. "Stealing. I was protecting myself, protecting our family. Your parents are a drain on our finances. Someone had to plan ahead." "Plan ahead?" Gregory stepped toward her. You were planning to leave me. That's what this is. An escape fund. You were going to take the money and disappear. That's ridiculous. I saw the emails, Vanessa. Gregory's voice rose. The ones to your lawyer. Asking about divorce proceedings. Asking about asset division. Asking about the inheritance you expected from my parents. The room went dead silent. I looked at Vanessa. I saw her clearly now. All the years of fake smiles and empty compliments. All the visits she cut short. All the holidays she ruined. She never loved Gregory. She never loved this family. She only loved what she thought she could take from us. You were waiting for us to die, Dorothy said softly. Her voice was filled with horror. You were waiting for your inheritance. Vanessa didn't deny it. She didn't even try. Amelia stood up. I had almost forgotten she was there. She had been sitting in the corner the whole time, quiet, watching, taking it all in. But now she was on her feet. Tears streamed down her face. She looked at her mother, the woman who raised her, the woman who taught her to brush her hair and tie her shoes, the woman who was supposed to love her more than anything in the world. How could you? Amelia whispered. Vanessa reached for her. Amelia, sweetheart, let me explain. Don't touch me. Amelia stepped back. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. And then she said the words that would haunt Vanessa forever. You're not my mother anymore. Vanessa's face crumbled. For the first time since I had known her, she looked truly afraid. Not angry, not scheming, afraid, because she had finally lost something she couldn't buy back. Amelia, please, she begged. You don't understand. Everything I did was for you, for our family. Your grandparents don't understand how the world works. They understand better than you ever will. Amelia's voice was strong now. The tears had stopped. She stood tall. She looked so much like Dorothy in that moment. The same fire, the same steel. I'm moving out, Amelia announced. I'm going to live with Grandma and Grandpa. Vanessa laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You can't be serious. You're going to leave your home to live in that old house? With them? That old house has more love in it than this mansion ever did. Vanessa turned to Gregory. Are you going to let her do this? Are you going to let your daughter throw her life away? Gregory looked at Amelia. Then he looked at his mother, at his father, at the family he had neglected for so long. And something in him finally broke free. Yes, he said quietly, I am. Vanessa's mouth fell open. Gregory! It's over, Vanessa. He said it simply, without anger, without drama, just truth. I want a divorce. The word hung in the air like smoke. Vanessa stared at him, her perfect mask finally shattered. Underneath was nothing but ugliness, rage, desperation. You can't divorce me, she spat. I'll take everything, the house, the cars, the practice. I'll destroy you. Gregory shook his head slowly. No, you won't. Remember that prenuptial agreement you signed? The one you called old-fashioned? The one you laughed about at our wedding? Vanessa's face went pale. It protects everything, Gregory continued. The house, the practice, the investments. You signed it, Vanessa. You were so sure you'd never need to worry about it. You were so sure I'd never leave you. Vanessa looked around the room, at me, at Dorothy, at Amelia. She was searching for an ally, someone to take her side, but there was no one left. She grabbed her purse from the table. Her hands were shaking. She walked toward the door. Then she stopped and turned around one last time. You'll regret this, she said. Her voice was cold, dead. All of you. You'll regret the day you turned against me. Nobody answered. She walked out the door. We heard her car start. We heard it screech down the driveway. And then she was gone. The silence that followed was different. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't sad. It was peaceful. Like a storm had finally passed. Gregory fell into a chair. He put his head in his hands. His shoulders shook. I realized he was crying. My grown son, the successful surgeon. The man who had forgotten where he came from. He was crying like a little boy. Dorothy went to him. She knelt beside him and put her arms around him. She held him the way she held him when he was 5 years old and scraped his knee. She didn't say anything. She just held him. I watched them, my wife, my son, and I felt something loosen in my chest, something that had been tight for a very long time. Gregory looked up at me. His eyes were red. His face was wet. "Dad," he said, I'm so sorry for everything." I walked over to him. I put my hand on his shoulder. I looked into his eyes. "A man is measured not by what he takes," I said, "but by what he gives." He nodded. He remembered. "It's not too late, son," I told him. "It's never too late to come home." 3 months passed. The divorce went through quickly. Vanessa fought hard, but the prenuptial agreement held. She left with far less than she expected. Her reputation in the community was ruined. The woman who had everything ended up with almost nothing. Gregory paid the $8,000 medical bill. Not because Vanessa demanded it, but because he wanted to. He took over all our medical expenses. He visited every week, sometimes twice. He helped Dorothy in the garden. He sat with me on the porch and talked about nothing and everything. Amelia moved into our guest room. She filled the house with laughter again. She helped Dorothy cook. She asked me to tell her stories about the old days, about the cases I won, about the people I helped. It was a Sunday evening. We sat around the dinner table, Dorothy's pot roast, the good plates, everyone together. Amelia looked at me across the table. "Grandpa," she said, "tell me about the oak tree, the one you planted when Dad was born." I smiled. I looked at Gregory. He was smiling too. "Well," I began, "it was a spring morning. The sun was just coming up, and I held your father in my arms for the very first time." Dorothy squeezed my hand under the table, and I knew that everything was going to be all right.